It's time for a screaming lesson. Names Poppin'. And for this video, we're going to be doing a Simulacra story run with the chatbox. And in the next video, we'll hopefully be able to get to the dailies part 2, because there's more dailies that you can do as you level up in the game. And right now, we're going to see what people are up to, what we can get, and see what their little adventures are. And maybe we can get little bits and pieces about Tien or Lyra, even though they're not out yet, and see if if any of these simulacras tend to mingle with anybody else. For right now, Lynn is kind of low with the story run and the daily run. And some of them I'm kind of catching up on, to be honest, but sorry about that. So hopefully we can get to all of the bits and pieces and you guys can see how interesting these things are, because I know a lot of people are really annoyed by these things. But you can get, like, as you continue to chat with these guys, you can get better stuff, you know? Maybe you don't really have to chat with them and you can just kind of ignore them and they'll still give you gifts or whatever. But I do notice that the more you chat with them, the less empty gifts you get. Like, you'll get letters from Cube, or Zero, I should say, and he'll give you little bits of information about the simulacras. Like, for example, I found out why there's only, like, mostly female simulacras and not very many male simulacras. I can't really find that bit anymore, but I'm hoping that, you know, he'll send me that little mailbox thing again to explain more about it, because I was really, you know, confused and really interested, but I didn't know how to do a screen record, and I didn't know how to get that for everybody. I do remember screenshotting it. Maybe I can snag that in here later on. So for right now, I did learn that Coco Ritter, she's kind of a bit of a crafter, and she's kind of a bit of a jeweler, and she loves jewelry, and she's kind of, you know, she's kind of got, like, that whole little arts and crafts to her. I kind of thought that was cute, because at the beginning she was just repetitive, like Pepper was. But she kind of gets more into her personality as you chat with her a little bit more. And Ruby continues to remain like this sweet little girl, even though she's supposed to be like 19. I guess she's mentally, you know, held back because she was, you know, probably I forgot her story. I'm so sorry, Ruby. I know, and I love you so much. But I forgot why she was actually adopted, to be honest, so I'm gonna have to go back and, you know, look that up. So I guess she was adopted and she was just mentally traumatized by the whole world around her just crumbling, and there's, like, so much death, so much hatred, and she really has, like, a thing for suppressors and she really wants to get rid of them. So she's not just, you know, a dreamer. She's got, you know, she's got goals to reach, which is pretty cool. Hilda, she's gotten very playful. She was, like, kind of randomly upbeat, and I guess, you know, for an anime game, it makes sense, because, you know, anime does that with random characters. There's always going to be that one random upbeat character. So Hilda turns out to be that one. She's very playful. She likes to go into races and all that. Cobalt, she's always fixated on, you know, her weapons, but I did find a bit of a personal side to her, and she's got kind of, you know, some of her own issues when it comes to exploring outside of her weaponry. So I'm assuming, just like Rui, she also isn't really she didn't really have much of a childhood. She didn't really have much of, you know, anything. She is a simulacra, of course, but she was once human. All of these guys were once human. For some reason, they were just chosen because they, like, proved to be the strongest or whatever. They were chosen to become simulacras and turn into these things. So even though they're not in their original bodies, they do have memories, and unlike Huma, these guys actually have a lot of memories, to the point that they know who they are, they know who they were, they understand and they fully accept everything. However, they do go on certain journeys. For example, Zero, he is fighting with the original owner of the body, I guess, or maybe the original owner of his body, because it gets confusing with Zero. He's either the original and he's dealing with the fake, or he's the fake and he's, you know, the simulacra, nothing more than just the simulacra's body, and the mind of, you know, Zero is actually, you know, telling him, no, you can't find any more information or anything. So even though he has memories, he seems to be struggling to regain certain memories, and he's also fighting back against himself, almost. But for Huma, she fully So for her thing, she didn't really accept her body. Her real self didn't really accept the simulacra. So there was kind of, you know, an error or whatever. So what they did was they didn't just make a simulacra body. They ended up making the whole simulacra human, the human into a simulacra of its own, and they put her whole mentality, mind, and everything into that body. So it wasn't just, you know, artificial bodies like these guys. That's an actual human body that was turned into a simulacra. But even though she was chosen or whatever, she's not mentally there. So Huma's mentally there. So there's kind of, you know, that going on. And let's see. For Crowy, he's really fun. You know, my character convinced him that stripping was totally fine only because the game enforced me to choose that option. They don't really have many options, but I guess now it's a performance. So whenever he's talking about a performance, he's really talking about stripping and, you know, dancing around. And I think it's funny. I think it's kind of, you know, interesting for a 13+ game. Maybe they should keep that limited to adult players. But I thought that was kind of interesting, and hopefully they add more choices. So yeah, and you will find that these guys have a lot to share and have a lot to say. But what I find interesting is Pepper, she's full-blown robot mode. Like, no matter what I've done or tried to get to her personal, she's just full-on work, robot, you know, heal, take care of yourself. She's repetitive consistently. But she's like full robot, unlike these guys who actually have personality. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe certain rare ones, certain rare simulacras, and certain super rare simulacras aren't actually like the rare, like the super rare ones or whatever, you know? They're not like them. They're just full-on robots. They're full-on simulacras. They're not even, there's no personality. There's no humanity in them, you know? Whereas with these guys, there's humanity. She's gotten into the mentality of taking care of, you know, children, like Ruby, basically. So she's, even though very new to it, she's kind of adopted that little mommy side to her, and she's very kind of about it. But she's kind of, you know, she's like very strict. She's a very powerful personality. What I like about Lynn is they went all out for her personality for the chat box. So if you actually want to awaken a simulacra, have fun with Lynn, because you can probably find out so much information, because her simulacra isn't like Zero's. Zero's supposed to be, you know, some rogue guy or whatever gone good or some shit, you know? But Lynn is supposed to be, you know, straight good, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, you know, maybe with her high authority or whatever, we can get more emails and more bits of the simulacras and why these guys were even chosen to begin with, why they were so strong compared to other people, what makes these guys different from, you know, let's say the NPCs that we come across, what makes it different? Like, why aren't these guys as strong? Why can't these guys go out of their villages? Why can these guys go anywhere they want and be super strong? Like, what makes them strong? That's what I'm hoping to get into with these things. Like, yeah, their bodies are artificial, but why were their minds chosen? Why were their personalities strong? Why were their human selves so strong to be put into these things? You know what I'm saying? And why are only some of these simulacras actually just robotic? Like, what makes those ones different from these guys who have awakened? And what I've noticed is that even though some of these guys have awakened, they don't, like, have full memory of their past selves. Like Coco Ritter, and I think there's another one who doesn't have full memory of her, like, back self or backstory or anything. She just fully accepted, you know, what she is now, what she can do, what she's supposed to be doing, etc. But she doesn't, her mind doesn't really seem to have all the memories, and even though Zero's fighting to get memories back, it makes me wonder if, you know, Hycros or whatever intentionally wanted to hide their whole personality or their memories and just keep their personality inside a robot. But even still, why would they want that, you know? Why, what would that accomplish versus them having all of their memories and being put into it. It could be a human situation to where they're like, human selves were like, no, you're not putting me into a fucking robot or whatever. I'm gonna stay a human whether you like it or not. It could be a situation that they're trying to prevent, which I get because Huma was very, very dangerous, but they seemed so adamant on forcing her into becoming a simulacra. Why? She didn't want this, but they chose to do it anyway. So clearly, for this reality, the dead has no respect. The dead has, you know, no say in the matter. Whereas in our reality, we can be like, oh, DNR, you know, we have a say. You can't use my body for science. You can't use my body for this and this. So I'm wondering, for this game, how did it get to that point? How did it get so bad that not only do they need to, like, use suppressors, but they have to make full-on simulacras, restrict certain memories, or hide them, and force their whole personality into these guys? Like, it's very interesting, and I like the whole apocalyptic, you know, era, and I like that we're so far off into the future, because there's so much that can happen. But for right now, this is just, you know, the chat box run. We're just checking up, and you can see that I've gotten pretty far, and I'm able to actually recover. So if you guys have actually missed any of the main lines or the dailies, you can recover those. I thought we couldn't recover those before, but it turns out we can recover those, and we can regain some tracks if you just go through this era and you click on that little eyeball right there. You'll be able to do this, start all over, and then you can kind of catch it up. And I guess they kind of revert to their older messages that they were supposed to give you or whatever. But I am hoping that the mailbox I can show you guys later, because they will send you letters that will push you further into the story and somewhat into other characters' storylines and somewhat into the hidden information that we're supposedly, quote-unquote, not supposed to see or whatever, you know? But, like I said, there's a lot you can do in this game, and I like that we can pick away at the story, because that's just something that I've always loved to do. And I hope that we get more bits and pieces of the story. So for right now, that's kind of all the time we have. For, you know, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. I had fun making this. I'm so sorry it's been a while, I know. But it is kind of hard to use and save up space on a phone. And I am on mobile for everything that I do. Alright everyone, sweet nightmares. Goodbye.